Shri Swami Vari Mansika Puja. In the Padmasana, Siddhasana, or Vajrasana posture, with the tongue touching the roof of the mouth, and the tip of the tongue at the beginning of the tongue, touching the skull, while observing the breath as it moves through the chakras, from the Muladhara Chakra to the Sahasrara Chakra, one should sit quietly for 5 to 10 minutes each day. As we inhale and exhale, the breath moves from the Muladhara Chakra to the Sahasrara Chakra. By observing this with the mind, the breath and mind synchronize. At that point, stop the breath at the Muladhara Chakra, bow to the presiding deity there, then stop at the Swadhisthana Chakra, bow to the presiding deity there, then stop at the Manipura Chakra and bow to the presiding deity there, then stop at the Anahata Chakra and bow to the presiding deity there, then go to the Vishuddha Chakra, bow to the presiding deity there, then go to the Agnya Chakra and bow to the presiding deity there, and finally reach the Sahasrara Chakra. At the Sahasrara, still the mind, offer 1,000 salutations to the Sadguru's form, then, from there, bring the nectar with the cosmic divine energy into the mind. Distribute this nectar starting from the Agnya Chakra, then to the Vishuddha, Anahata, Manipura, Swadhisthana, and Muladhara Chakras, completing the cycle. Afterward, leave the Sahasrara, and again bow to the deities at the Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, and Agnya Chakras, and return to the Sahasrara. From there, bring the cosmic divine nectar once again, and distribute it through all the chakras. By doing this practice 5 to 10 times each day, the physical body, subtle body, and causal body will become like nectar. This will lead to the experience of self-realization and divine vision. The complete life history of Sri Veerabrahmendra Swami has been presented to you in a very concise manner. In a time when chaos is happening under the names of castes and religions, the supreme truth of renunciation, righteousness, devotion, and the teachings of surrender, along with self-realization, have been revealed to humanity. Through the accumulated merits of many lifetimes, those who have attained human bodies have been shown the path of Raja Yoga for attaining liberation with ease. To offer this path to all followers of various beliefs, the supreme divine form of Sri Virat Vishwam Bhagwan, the embodiment of Nirkara, Nirguna, formless and attributeless, and the essence of all divine energies, appeared on earth as the form of Lord Vishnu, in the form of Sadguru Murthy, Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji, in the year 1608 of the Christian era. In the year 1608 CE, Sri Virat Vishwam Bhagwan manifested in the form of Sadguru Murthy, Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji, the divine incarnation of Lord Vishnu, to give liberation through Raja Yoga. He incarnated in the family of a Muslim, identified as Siddhaya, Manu Brahma, Shiva, in the family of a Brahman as Annajaya, Twashtar Brahma, and as a sculptor Brahma, Indra. Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji's divine energy was activated through favorable conditions in the environment, with the blessings of Surya, the sun god, who showered his grace on him. As a result of the positive effects of the cosmic energy, the energy of the great Purusha, cosmic being, radiated and caused the divine transformation of Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji. Yam Dharmaraja appeared in the family of Harijans as Sri Kakkaya, while other deities incarnated as disciples of Sri Swamiji. Sri Virat Vishwabrahma Bhagwan, the Supreme Purusha who filled the entire universe with the divine essence, manifested as the divine Acharya, alongside Prakriti Mata, nature, in her cosmic form, as the divine mother of the universe, with the divine power that permeates the entire cosmos. He appeared in a form in the region of Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh, near the banks of the river Saraswati, under the supervision of Lord Kashi Vishwanatha, where they together fulfilled the cosmic duty of bringing welfare to the world. With a divine resolve, he created Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji as a child and entrusted him to the ashrama of sage Atri near the sacred river, where the divine instructions were imparted. Both of them vanished from sight and merged into the infinite universe. Later, Sri Swamiji, growing up in the ashrama of sage Atri, moved to Karnataka. There, he helped many devotees and protected them through the blessings of Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji. Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji, with his divine presence, removed all sins and guided people towards righteousness, becoming known as Veerapapa, the universal Brahman who eradicated sins through divine intervention. Having obtained parents as a couple, he was raised by them. Following the natural order, until the age of 12, he studied the Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, yoga, and all forms of knowledge. As he set out on a journey across the country, he imparted to his mother, Veerapapa, the process of creation, the cosmic order, and revealed to her the vision of the universal form, just as Lord Krishna showed to Arjuna. He bestowed upon her the awakening of knowledge. His mother, Veerapapa, described to us the visions she saw of the universal form, which we will learn about later. Like Lord Krishna, he incarnated as Gopala, the protector of cows, and worked as a cowherd in the household of Garimreddy Achmamba. He lived in the Ravaklonda caves of the village of Panganu. There, by walking on the leaves of the trees, the 9 planets, Navagrahas, moved, and through the reactions of the 5 elements, he experienced and recorded the natural aberrations, knowledge of time, spiritual wisdom, worldly wisdom, and supreme knowledge of the eternal truth. He wrote the path to liberation through devotion, along with the secrets of the future, past, and present. During the time Sri Swamiji lived in Garimreddy Achmamba's house, he appreciated the services of Achmamba, and in the future, he blessed her, saying that her descendants, the Kamakapu Reddy clan, would flourish and become kings in politics. He also appreciated the services of Annajaya, a Brahman youth with Brahmic wisdom. He blessed Achmamba, who had built a temple for Sri Swamiji's meditation in the village of Panganu, and told her that in the future, all people would realize the eternal truth, and all Brahmins enriched with supreme knowledge would attain wealth, family prosperity, and the ultimate liberation from worldly bonds. In the time when chaos was happening in the name of castes and religions, he accepted Siddhaya, who incarnated with the essence of Lord Shiva, as a disciple. He imparted knowledge to the Mohammedan rulers who opposed him, awakening their understanding. O king, you are speaking of religions. These are related to the body, but not to the soul. In you, in me, and in all living beings, there is only one eternal soul. According to the truth of the soul, everyone is the same. There are no separate religions or castes. These are just the bodies made of the 5 elements, and they are not permanent. Birth and death are natural for all beings. When our bodies have no permanence, what is the difference between caste and religion? Humans, in the name of caste and religion, have fallen into confusion. Just as many coins may look different, but gold is one, similarly, even though there may be many religions, the Lord is only one. Your God and my God are not different. The 5 elements, the 9 planets, the 8 directional deities, the sun, the moon, and the stars all provide the vital energy we need. The sun, moon, and stars watch over our actions, both good and bad, and they distribute their energies accordingly. The divine light shines equally upon the homes of Muslims, Hindus, and followers of other religions. All these divisions are created on earth by us, not by nature or inherent qualities. To understand the truth, religion is not necessary. To receive the teachings of a guru, caste is not required. O Nawab, listen to the religious principles as explained by the great Prophet Muhammad. These are the words of God. Understand them. Each community has its own religion, and those who are favored by the Lord are made into followers of a specific faith. Whatever virtuous deeds they have done, the Lord tests them all, and in the end, everyone will reach His presence. O King, Muslims may spread the message of their faith and truth in the world, and followers of other religions may engage in their own practices, doctrines, and philosophies. These may be debated, and adjustments may be made. But one must not be swept up by useless passions. One must not reject the deities that others worship with devotion. Nor should one speak ill of their leaders, for this would lead to anger against Allah. This sin will cause Muslims to become impure, as they will be the root cause of this discord. Such actions are not appropriate. The customs of any religion, no matter what they may be, are beloved by those who follow them. The Lord is one, and He is the one worshipped by everyone. His grace is universal. He is the sole divine power, and no other God exists. The 5 elements, the 9 planets, the 8 directional deities, the sun, the moon, and the stars all give us the energy we need. They observe our actions, whether good or bad, and they distribute their energy accordingly. The text continues with the story of Kakkaya, a Harijan who became a disciple of the Guru. Kakkaya had been suffering on behalf of his community and was advised by the Guru, "Kakkaya, you are suffering for your community, but in the past, many great people have fought for justice in this era. However, their efforts did not succeed because the people did not support them. Without the king's decree, nothing can happen. In the future, you will be born as a leader, as a wise one who will create a constitution and bring justice. Your community's strength will protect you, and throughout the coming ages, you will experience a golden age. Positions of power, wealth, and authority will come to you. You will be wise, and you will be the judges, the rulers, and the spiritual leaders. The notion of untouchability will disappear, and there will be no suffering for you. Do not be troubled. You will be blessed with wealth, power, and success. Even if some people, influenced by greed or power, stray from the right path, those who follow my teachings and practice them will be protected from any harmful forces. I have accepted you as my disciple. Without any doubt, you can come and go from this ashram with your wife and participate in any festival or occasion. Siddhaya will always be there as your companion and guide." To the people of Peddakumala, Kandimallayapalle, and the people of various other places, the Guru taught the following: each person should honor their own profession and duties. If people carry out their work and duties with a pure and untainted mind, they will experience growth and development in the future. I blessed with my protection. To the Brahman scholars of Pushpagiri Agraharam, due to their pride, they were shown how their villages and homes would be destroyed. It was taught that those who remain prideful will face negative consequences in the future. Those who respect others without belittling them and follow the path of righteousness will attain Brahmic wisdom and, by my divine power, will reach a higher state. In Nandyala town, some Vishwabrahmins, endowed with divine sight, recognized that the Guru was an incarnation and understood his greatness. To make the people aware of the Guru's divinity, they prepared food for the people. They realized that even after cooking vast amounts of rice, only Siddhaya's hunger could be truly satisfied, thus teaching the truth. In the past, Satyabhama could not satisfy Lord Krishna with her wealth. However, with devotion, Rukmini could satisfy him with a single tulsi leaf. This was done to demonstrate the power of devotion over material wealth. The Guru stated that the one who walks in devotion to God and follows the righteous path will be able to control their desires, not out of wealth or grandeur, but through true submission. He demonstrated another truth to the people by showing that one of the Vishwabrahmins, with divine sight, took molten metal in his hands and drank it. He explained that fire and water are opposite elements, and the act of drinking molten metal is something only an incarnation of Narayana can do, to demonstrate that it is impossible for others. The Guru praised the Vishwabrahmins of Nandel for their wisdom and their ability to convey truth to the people, thus guiding them towards divine knowledge. He assured that in the future, these scholars would continue to use their wisdom for the protection and benefit of the people and that they would not fall prey to illusion. Those who understood their connection to nature would always receive the Guru's blessings. He promised to remove all hardships, bestow wealth, and grant prosperity to those who followed his teachings. The Guru warned that no one who receives his blessings would ever be humiliated or insulted. If someone did so knowingly or unknowingly, they would suffer the consequences of their actions. Before entering into Samadhi, the Guru gave a discourse on Dharma, saying, "O O people, do not worry that I am not present. I will remain in this samadhi and protect those who follow my teachings. You should worship the sun during the day and the moon at night. Follow the daily routine without fail, perform good deeds, and always do your duties according to your age. In childhood, desires are many, and in youth, passions grow. In old age, desires also increase. By cultivating devotion, knowledge, and detachment, good things will happen. The universe is vast, and so is the microcosm inside our body. If one learns from the Guru and practices properly, they can see light even in darkness. Respect people of all castes and religions, and see the Supreme Being in everyone. Whether one is a Brahman, a Harijan, a king, a sannyasi, rich, poor, great, or small, all will eventually face death. Understand this truth and see all humans with equal vision. Enjoy the material wealth given by God equally and do not allow caste and religion-based distinctions to divide you. Eradicate selfishness, hatred, and ill feelings. Show compassion towards others. Helping others is the greatest virtue, while hurting them is the greatest sin. All human dharma is rooted in this truth. Live by this wisdom, seeing all people as embodiments of the Supreme Soul. Always help others and never think ill of them. Even in dreams, never harm others. Sufferings will come, but do not let them push you to leave your home, family, or society. Instead, face challenges with courage. There is no need to worry. In the battle of life, every human being should, like a yogi with no desires, engage in every action as an offering to God, without expecting any reward, and always chant the praises of God with a steady mind. By doing so, they should perceive the Supreme Soul and leave behind all attachments. Religion means having a firm resolve to reach God. There is no need for everyone to follow the same path to reach God. Each person can choose their preferred path. Those walking one path should not criticize others who walk a different path, as it does not benefit them. It is like forcing a person who is skilled in one course to take another course in which they are not skilled. Do not increase hatred by differentiating between the various professions that support life and the different religious paths. Everyone should follow their respective customs and practices. Even though all government employees belong to the government, it is not enough for everyone to follow the same rules and timings. It is only when each person performs their duties and follows the rules and regulations of their department that the system operates smoothly. Just as the Constitution functions properly only when each department follows its rules and regulations. At the end, after performing the ritual of living samadhi, the Guru demonstrated how he would emerge from samadhi to protect his devotees like Siddhaya, fulfilling their desires. He gave Siddhaya the vision, comforted him, and blessed him with the Guru's symbols such as sandals, the yogic staff, and a ring, confirming that he would emerge from samadhi to provide protection and fulfill desires. Certain Vishwabrahmins from Muni Madugu and Vanipinta villages were skeptical about whether the Guru had truly survived after 10 months in samadhi. To dispel their doubts, they encouraged the Guru's son, Pothuluraya, to break open the samadhi. Upon doing so, it was revealed to the people that the Guru was still alive. To make known the significance of women and their importance, the Guru, as an incarnation, blessed the family of his daughter, Viranarayana's descendants, to inherit the leadership of the monastery as a family. Tradition. The Guru then blessed his eldest son, Govindaya, saying, "You and your brothers will spread my teachings among the people and work towards uplifting them. You will be born in various castes, religions, regions, as wealthy, educated, scholarly, common people, teachers, disciples, and devotees. This is your destiny. The power of illusion surrounds you, but once you are able to overcome it, your true duties will be revealed. The illusion can be removed by reading the Book of Liberation, the Path of Devotion, written with the knowledge of time, self, worldly wisdom, and Brahmic knowledge. Following these teachings, You will receive divine protection at every step, and the forces of Ilshan will not affect you. Do not worry about my absence. I will always remain in this samadhi. My divine radiance will spread throughout the world. As long as you live, remain as a faithful and devoted servant. Keep performing the practice of my teachings on time, self-knowledge, and soul knowledge. For those who read and listen to these teachings, the sins from 7 lifetimes will be erased. The merit of performing 100 yajnas, 100 kanyadanas, giving away daughters in marriage, godanas, donating cows, bhudnas, land donations, and suvarna dhanas, gold donations, will be earned. Reciting these teachings every day brings great spiritual merit. Sri Swamiji said, "Those who follow the teachings will reach me in this very life." He instructed everyone to know this. As Sri Swamiji had said, Govindamamba Devi remained as a faithful servant, protecting Tmatha, monastic institution, and spent her life in constant remembrance of Sri Swamiji. Some miracles and greatness of Sri Veerabrahmendra Swami. 1. Unable to bear the social sufferings and trapped in ignorance, Kakkaya, a Harijan, heard about the 6 chakras from Siddhaya, who was teaching them. Wishing to see the deities within the 6 chakras of the body, Kakkaya, in his ignorance, cut his wife Muthamma into pieces. When the deities did not appear, he was filled with sorrow and sought refuge in the feet of Sri Swamiji. Sri Swamiji went to Kakkaya's hut and revived Muthamma. He showed Kakkaya the deities presiding over the 6 chakras, Lord Ganesha, Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, and others. Sri Swamiji removed Kakkaya's ignorance and imparted knowledge to both Kakkaya and Muthamma, accepting them as disciples and blessing them with the path to liberation. 2. Brahmananda Reddy, the son of Garimreddy Achamagru, a devotee of Sri Swamiji, was born blind due to the evil deeds he committed in his previous life. However, upon repenting for his mistakes and performing good deeds, he overcame his faults. Sri Swamiji, by removing his blindness and granting him sight, blessed him to perform good deeds for the welfare of the world. Sri Swamiji also imparted spiritual knowledge and blessed him with the path to liberation. Today, those who read or distribute the Mukti Margam, Bhakti Margam, the path of liberation, the path of devotion, scripture will have their past sins from previous lives removed. Their worldly desires will be fulfilled, and the path to spiritual liberation will become easier. 3. Sri Swamiji, as Virapaya, was once tending the cattle of Garimreddy Achamagru in Banganipalle village. He led the cattle into the forest near Ravvalkonda and placed them in a safe enclosure surrounded by a circle, ensuring they had food available. He established a protective boundary to prevent any wild animals from harming the cattle. Sri Swamiji then went into the cave at Ravvalkonda, where he wrote teachings on the subjects of time knowledge, self-knowledge, worldly knowledge, Brahman knowledge, and spiritual knowledge on palm leaves. Every evening, he would bring time knowledge leaves along with the cattle and keep them safely in a stone container at Achamagru's house. Today, those who read the Mukti Margam Bhakti Margam scripture 9 times every year, once in every 40 days, and once a month will come under the protective care of Sri Swamiji. They can also receive a membership certificate for the protection shield to safeguard their family members. 4. Hearing about the glory of Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji, Nawab of Banganipalle village invited Sri Swamiji to his court to test his powers and honor him. The king said to Sri Swamiji, "Swamiji, we have heard that you are the spiritual guide of the world. If you truly are the world teacher, then we too must have gurus. We request you to accept the hospitality we offer." Sri Swamiji agreed. The king had various types of meat dishes prepared and placed them on a large tray, covering them with a cloth. Observing this, Sri Swamiji poured the holy water from his kamandalam onto the dishes, and to the king's astonishment, all the dishes turned into sweet fruits. Realizing the truth and understanding his ignorance, the Nawab felt deeply remorseful. He vowed that as long as he lived, He would rule his kingdom with religious harmony and without any sectarian conflicts. He promised to govern his kingdom with mutual respect among all religions and established this principle in his rule. 5. The village elders of Kandimalaya village decided to conduct the Poleramma Jatra festival according to the traditional customs. They asked for a chariot, animal sacrifices, and other ritual requirements, and specifically requested the presence of Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji, known by the name Veerapaya, to arrange for the chariot by the next day. Sri Swamiji agreed to their request. On the day of the festival, while the villagers gathered in front of the temple, the headman was searching for fire to offer. Sri Swamiji, with divine grace, summoned fire from Poleramma, the goddess of the temple. He made the chariot move on its own and brought it in front of the temple. The headman, who had previously spoken falsely and carelessly, was struck by the realization of his mistake. Writhing in pain, he acknowledged his wrongdoings and sought forgiveness. Sri Swamiji, out of compassion, forgave him. Sri Swamiji then imparted a spiritual lesson to the people, explaining that anyone who kills one life and offers it as food for another becomes entangled in the sin of killing. He emphasized that animal cruelty does not lead to liberation, moksha. By stopping the animal sacrifices, he enlightened the people about the sanctity of life. He also calmed the goddess Poleram, ensuring her blessings reached all the people. 6. In the village of Pedkomarla, as Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji was making preparations for the marriage of Sri Govindamamba Devi, a tragic event occurred a few days earlier. The son of the village headman, who was a friend of Swamiji's father-in-law, Shiva Kotayacharya, named Pictured D, passed away unexpectedly. Shiva Kotayacharya and the villagers, along with his family, were deeply immersed in grief. Upon hearing about this, Swamiji went to the village, examined Pictured D, and brought him back to life. Upon witnessing this miracle, some mischievous villagers, pretending to be grieving, placed a lifeless body on a wooden stretcher and brought it to Swamiji, asking him to revive it. Noticing their foolishness, Swamiji declared that the person was already dead. When the villagers, mocking his words, lifted the person from the stretcher, they realized that he was truly dead. In remorse for their mistake, they pleaded for forgiveness at Swamiji's feet. Swamiji, with compassion, forgave them and revived the young man lying on the stretcher. From that day forward, those villagers gave up their foolishness and began to live with wisdom. They enthusiastically participated in the grand wedding ceremony of Sri Swamiji, showing their newfound respect and devotion. 7. Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji, along with his wife, was traveling on a pilgrimage, visiting many sacred temples and observing the state of the country. While teaching the principles of human dharma and emphasizing the importance of Hindu-Muslim unity, he continued his journey for several months, visiting holy places. When he was on his way to visit his most beloved sacred shrine, Sri Sail, he stopped under a tree during his travels. There, he saw an elderly Brahman who had studied many texts, held many positions, and earned numerous honors in the royal court. Despite having sons, daughters, and wealth, in his old age, he found himself abandoned by his children and friends, left helpless. He had turned into a wanderer, traveling on pilgrimages. This elderly Brahman, suffering from severe thirst and exhaustion, was lying beneath the tree, emaciated like a skeleton. The fellow pilgrims, seeing his condition, abandoned him, fearing that they might also catch the disease he had. They left him behind. Upon seeing this elderly man suffering from thirst and unable to move, Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji, like the ocean of compassion, approached him with his wife, helped him up, and quenched his thirst. By massaging his body, Swamiji relieved all his pain and suffering. 8. Ishvara, the Ananda Bhairava Yogi king, was born in the land of Kashmir and ruled with righteousness. In order to protect cows and sacred animals, he went to the forest to hunt and bring the tigers under control. During a hunt, he aimed an arrow at a tiger attacking a cow. However, due to a flaw in his aim caused by his ignorance, the arrow missed the tiger and struck the cow, causing its death. The killing of the cow led to a great sin, as the Ananda Bhairava Yogi king was now burdened with the grave sin of cow slaughter. In search of a way to expiate this sin, he travelled far and wide to consult great souls who could show him the path to redemption. Ultimately, he reached the presence of Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji. Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji, with his divine vision, saw the past of King Ananda Bhairava and realized that he was born of the Shiva lineage. He explained that whether the killing of the cow was intentional or unintentional, the sin would still remain. Therefore, he told the king that the path to redemption would be through a rebirth in a Muslim family, where he would be born as a disciple and attain spiritual progress. Thus, Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji showed the way for the king's grave sin of cow slaughter to be removed. In his next birth, the Ananda Bhairava Yogi king was born as Siddhaya, a Muslim, in a family of Dudhekas. 9. One day, Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji was invited to the home of Shivkotiya Acharyulu, the father of Sri Govindamamba Devi, for a meal before the marriage. Swamiji agreed to the invitation. When Swamiji went for the meal, he took with him a bundle of ragi sankati, a dish made from millet. He instructed that only the ragi sankati should be served to everyone. When Govindamamba Devi opened the bundle of ragi sankati, it transformed into 5 types of delicious food. This miracle revealed to all the family members the greatness of Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji and the divine power of Sri Govindamamba Devi. With great joy, Shivekotayacharya Swamulu conducted a grand wedding for Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji and Sri Govindamamba Devi. 10. While Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamiji was travelling with his disciples from Mahanandi to Nandel town, they passed through a village called Diguvamettu. In that village, a Vishwabrahmin was melting iron. To demonstrate his greatness, Sri Swamiji took the hot iron mold from the Brahman and, with his hands, held the molten iron, then placed it in his mouth to cool it down. Since fire is extinguished by water, drinking is a means to quench thirst. This act could only be performed by a Narayana Murti, an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and Sri Swamiji, showing his divinity, demonstrated that he was indeed the incarnate Narayana, showcasing his greatness. 11. One day, Sri Swamiji requested the Vishwabrahmins of Nandel town to arrange a meal for his group of disciples. Some of the elders in their assembly rejected the request. However, some of the learned ones, recognizing Sri Swamiji's greatness, decided to demonstrate his importance to all by serving the food they prepared. They insisted that everyone should eat the food they had made. Sri Swamiji, however, allowed only a Siddhaya, a spiritually advanced person, to serve the rice, which was of the finest quality, and he ate it from their hands. 12. Due to Sri Swamiji accepting Dudhekula Siddhaya as his disciple, Siddhaya's parents complained to the Nawab of Kadapa. The Kadapa Nawab sent a notice to Sri Swamiji. In response, Siddhaya went to the Nawab's court. As he did not salute the Nawab, the elders present became angry. In reply, Siddhaya said, "The power to accept my salute lies only with my Gurudev, not with anyone else." To test this, the elders decided to bring a large stone and ordered Siddhaya to salute it. Siddhaya, recalling his Gurudev, saluted the stone, and it broke into pieces. 13. The Nawab of Kadapa invited Sri Swamiji to his court and, intending to test Sri Swamiji's power, brought a pregnant horse into the royal court. The Nawab asked, "Is the fetus in this horse male or female?" Sri Swamiji, with his divine power, took the fetus out of the horse's womb, showed it to the people, and then returned it to the womb. 14. The Nawab of Kurnool invited Sri Swamiji to the royal court and, after offering him respects, he arranged a test to understand the greatness of Sri Swamiji. In the court, 1,000 lamps were lit, and clean water was poured, with the command to make Sri Swamiji illuminate them. Sri Swamiji, with his divine power, illuminated all the lamps with his glory. 15. The Nawab of Hyderabad, with devotion and respect, invited Sri Swamiji to the royal palace. He arranged accommodations for him and sent all the necessary items for his rituals. To test Sri Swamiji, the Nawab sent water instead of oil to light the lamps. Upon noticing this, Sri Swamiji called the Nawab and asked him to come to where the worship was happening. He told the Nawab to pour the oil he had sent into the lamps and light them. Unable to speak, the Nawab poured the water into the lamps and lit them with a matchstick. The lamps, instead of being dim, blazed brightly as if they were filled with oil. Witnessing this miracle, the Nawab was filled with joy and, realizing the greatness of Sri Swamiji, became his disciple, listening to teachings on time knowledge, self-knowledge, and devotion with great reverence. 16. In Kandimallayapalle village, all the villagers were making efforts to offer food to Poliram on one day. On the same day, Govindamba Devi was also busy preparing the offerings to Poliram. When Govindamba mentioned this to Sri Swamiji, he replied, "I will bring Poliramma to our house. Prepare your favorite food and serve it." When this message was conveyed to someone in the village, it spread throughout the village. Soon, all the villagers gathered at Sri Swamiji's house. Poliramma, adorned with her ornaments and dressed in fine clothes, arrived at Sri Swamiji's house, and she happily partook in the food served by Govindamba Devi in front of all the villagers before leaving. 17. While Sri Swamiji was travelling through the forest with his disciples, a Brahma Rakshasi, a type of malevolent spirit, was living on a tree in the forest, frightening and devouring passers-by, passing its time in this way. Sri Swamiji's disciples, terrified, informed him of the situation. Using his divine sight, Sri Swamiji saw the past of the Brahmarakshi and discovered that it had once been a Gandharv who had been cursed and transformed into a Brahma Rakshasi. Sri Swamiji then provided the creature with sattvic, pure, food to satiate its hunger and instructed it to remain peaceful until the time came for the curse to be lifted. He told the Brahma Rakshasi that the release from the curse would occur through his granddaughter, Ishwarambika Devi, and in this way, Sri Swamiji calmed both its anger and hunger. 18. He enlightened the poor and the thieves. He removed the hardships of the Krishna Brahman, and in this way, he demonstrated many miracles and glories.